Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us.
Hyakujuu Sentai! Gaoranger!
What's up everyone, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and I'm gonna bring in the new year by taking a look at the Super Sentai series that kicked off the 21st century, Hyakujuu Sentai Gaoranger.
お前らがニャオレンジャーざんすか。違う、ニャオレンジャーじゃねえっつの。さっさと名乗るざんす。猫みたいなとこ通りやがって。何ふざけた野郎だ。純連戦隊激レンジャー。さっさと名乗るざんす。
Originally the name planned to give Gingaman, Toei hired Mega Ranger and Go-Go 5-head writer Yuki Takagami to charge Sentai into the 21st century, utilizing a new concept of mecha which has been coined auxiliary mecha. In this show, the heroes have to save the world by collecting a bunch of various mechs known as power animals. Additionally, Toei decided to celebrate Gaoranger as the show's 25th anniversary due to it being the 25th series, despite it actually being the 26th year of Sentai. 25 years is not something to joke about when it comes to a TV show, even something like Sentai where each year is an entirely new iteration. Nevertheless, how does this grandiose celebration fare? Let's start this review by taking a look at the show's heroes. The heroes! Getting straight to the point, our show's heroes are Kakuru...
兵士になるつもりなら今までの名前は捨てろ。
Oh. Well, then... With that attitude, never mind. Jesus. I can't really do that much. They are played by Noboru Kaneko, whom you may recognize as also being in Godzilla Tokyo SOS, Kei Hori, Takeru Shibaki, Kazuyoshi Sakai, and Miyu Takeuchi. Each ranger represents an animal, red being a lion. Again, despite the fact that we just had that in Gingaman 3 years prior. Yellow being an eagle, blue a shark, black a bison, and white is a tiger. The series kicks off with the Rangers recruiting Gao Red to their team, who we come to learn a few episodes later that he was a veterinarian, which explains his ability to communicate with Gao Lion.
もう大丈夫だからな。よかったね、モケちゃん。はい。ありがとう、かける先生。
He's a pretty good leader as he will often take responsibility if something doesn't go as planned, but that doesn't mean he won't occasionally make a poor decision every now and then. The only real negative I have with him is that he just doesn't do anything interesting when stacked up against his predecessors. Of course, that is one of the major issues with the core Ranger cast as a whole, as they are all likable characters, they just don't do anything to set themselves apart from other series. Each Ranger gets a single episode to focus on their past before they had become a Ranger, which sounds quite pitiful when you take into account that Blue's backstory episode doesn't happen until the 28th episode of the series. It doesn't help that his pretty dumb episode is the only thing we know about him is that he wanted to be a professional bowler. And it's never truly explained why he wants to be a bowler, other than he was working maintenance at a bowling alley, saw this guy that was a really good bowler, and wanted to be like him. We do get to meet White's dad as we learn about her martial arts backstory.
東京の武道専門学園に来たかと
While Yellow was a pilot in the Air Force, and Black was a sumo wrestler who decided to take on the job as a florist, working with a girl he fell in love with.
Of course!
Other than that, we don't know anything about these characters, though that's better than nothing. Yellow is the abrasive one and was the first Ranger to be recruited. We do get a nice episode showcasing this as he was too weak to actually destroy the monster, so he had to seal it up at the time. There's not much else to his persona aside from his love for saying phrases in English. Does this make him a reversed weeaboo then? Black and Blue kinda go hand in hand together. Blue was the second Ranger to be recruited while Black was the fourth, and Blue was the one who encouraged Black to be the best he could be. White was recruited at the exact same time as Blue, which was roughly 6 months before the show's start. When she was recruited to be a Gaoranger, she told her dad she would be studying at a martial arts school in Tokyo, which is how she is able to live her life as a Ranger without his fatherly interference. Though he does discover the truth and lets it be. She is the youngest member of the team who can also be quite dramatic as she will easily get pissed off and pout.
Keiki, 好きだよ。
嫌いか?
There's even a moment where another character calls her out for it.
ヒーローはいつでもクールでなきゃ。落ち込んでるヒーローなんて最低だよ。
You've clearly never seen Batman, kid, now have you? Of the Rangers, she is probably my favorite since she is the one with the most fun personality, and I do like her backstory. The Rangers phone in their transformation scenes, literally, and their suits are kinda cool, especially the helmets. The weapons are standard as they each have short swords, and then each Ranger has their own signature weapon, with Red's being some sort of lion mouth head thing. No idea what it is exactly supposed to be, so it easily comes across as the weakest weapon in my book. He does get a gun though. The main weapons merge together to form the evil crushing 100 Beast sword. Try saying that 5 times fast. Aside from those, the only other weapon gained in the second half of the show is one called Falcon Bow that Red wields. The Ranger's recruiter and mentor is a woman named Tetomu. Tetomu had been put into hibernation for nearly 1,000 years in order to recruit a team of heroes if the evil villains of the show, the Orgs, were to ever return. As such, she doesn't always understand modern day life, which can put her in some hilarious situations every now and then.
こっちで。
ねえ、こっちに本当に象がいるんですか？
象だったらいるぜ。金が欲しいゾウってゾウがな。あいつらテトムをどうするつもりだ？
多分大丈夫。
The rape whistle.
Like what was becoming commonplace at the time, Gaoranger features a 6th Ranger who ends up really sucking out the life energy the core team provides under the guise of a wolf.
ダメだ。どうして？俺はお前たちを倒そうとした男だ。
Tetsuji Tamayama portrays this 1,000-year-old mopey dick who thinks everything is his fault. There will be times when the Rangers are having a blast, and then the moment Silver shows up, the fun goes away. I'm surprised he doesn't suck the color out of the show with his pessimistic personality.
のこのこと現れたこと。
通通ノルグシード、俺が抑える。よし。
Naturally, he even gets his own bike to ride around on, adding to the loner bit. His weapon is a pool stick that can also turn into a rifle. I'm not sure if he's trying to channel his inner guy Yuki, but he seriously needs to pull that stick out of his ass. Adding to his sadness is his lost love, Murasaki, Tetomu's grandmother. Surprisingly, the show didn't really try to build any sort of love plot between Silver and Tetomu as a way to rekindle his relationship. Silver pretty much makes a side comment about it in one episode, and that's pretty much it.
この性格は紫のとは似ても似つかぬ。
なんか言った？
少しは紫殿みたいにしとやかになれ。
Then again, developing a love plot between these two would mean taking time away from the toy commercial. There is a homeless child that does become a prominent character during the second half of the show. However, to talk about him would require some spoilers. I'll just say I'm not a fan of him because he's meant to be this mysterious figure that you can easily guess if you know how Toku works. I've said too much already, so it's time to move to the villains. The villains! The orcs come to life through a bunch of spirit energy that takes on the form of everyday objects. There's not too much to them, yet there are quite a few cool ones we see in the show. We have a monster made out of barbed wire that probably got sick of hearing the same piano music used in every Toku show Toei does. There's a lawnmower. Lawnmower org? More like yawn mower org.
I'm not laughing.
A ship fic. One that took the form of a flute.
6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot bunch.
A wedding dress that comes across as a drag queen org.
お前もフィギュアになるんだ。あら、男じゃダメか。だったらとどめをさしてやる。
Christmas org.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer
had a very shiny nose.
And Charcoal Grill Orc, who takes on the human form of resident Toei extraordinaire Taro Suwa.
備長炭ですね。お、わかんのかい兄ちゃん。やっぱ焼き物は炭じゃなくっちゃね。
The orcs will often be recruited by two Duke orcs who act as the show's generals, Yabaiba and Seisei.
すげえオルグがいるって聞いてきたんだが、なんだこりゃ。俺の復讐戦を任すオルグにゃ。ちょっと頼りなさすぎだぜ。
They're also the ones who help the orcs grow big upon defeat.
消えゆかんとする邪悪に再び巨大なる力を。はっ、鬼は内、ふわっとと。
Sadly, more often than not, these two come out as nothing more than comic relief for the show, as if they thought they were being featured in Gaoranger. Sometimes their comedy works, such as moments when they attempted to trick the Rangers into entering their own haunted house.
時々の納涼お化け屋敷よ。
寒いな。
なんだか楽しそうだな。
Whereas other times their comedy routine ruins the seriousness of the plot.
ありがとう。これどっから出したの？
いや聞くなよ。
That's gross.
Yabaiba is voiced by Koichi Sakaguchi, whom you may know as Musashi or Jesse in Pokemon. Rui Sato is Seisei, who plays Sailor Pluto in a Sailor Moon musical, and is Janet in King of Fighters. It doesn't help that they are pretty one-dimensional as far as character development is concerned. They exist. Nevertheless, that's more than I can say about the actual orb leaders, known as the Highness Dukes. Actually, scratch that. We do learn about Yabaiba having a younger brother.
やばいな兄貴、久しぶりやないかい。今日はなんや、金ならないで。寂しいこと言うなよ。
Well, whatever. Back to the Highness Dukes. These numbskulls have no development whatsoever and are there just to make Seisei and Yabaiba feel bad when they mess up. There are three Highness Duke orcs, the first being a man of eyes, Shuten.
お前たちの真の目的は一体何なんだ。我らオルグは
The second is a green man who loves to look at himself despite him just being a walking pair of ears and a nose by the name of Ura.
一つ目の宝珠、本に美しき輝きよの。こいつか。マロにこそふさわしい。
The third, Rasetsu, is a bunch of mouths on a body that is both male and female.
もう下げよ。そなたたちの料理口に合わぬ。
The male side is voiced by Gingaman Kaku Geki Ranger villain Hidekatsu Shibata, while Bobo fans may recognize Torpedo Girl's Hiromi Nishikawa as the female mouth.
せっかくの食事が。ざまみろ。食べ物の恨みは恐ろしいぞ。
Shuten is voiced by Doggy Kruger's Tetsuyu Nada.
その全能の力により我々を導く。オルグマスターの声をお前たちに伝えてやる。
As for Ura's voice actor, Tomatsu Nishiwaki, if you watch Dragon Ball Kai, you will know him as the Z TV announcer and Shibata in Fullmetal Panic Famufu, among many other anime roles.
マロンは主典とは違うでおじゃる。はあ？美しいものを目で、美しいものを集めるのが目的。
The most interesting villain of the show is a wolf orc named Roki. Ura releases this demon that was sealed away 1,000 years ago by the original Gaoranger team to wreak havoc on the current team. He's powerful, fast, has a pretty cool weapon, and also controls his own set of power animals that will cause the Rangers a headache whenever they fight the giant orc of the week. What's also interesting is that his powers are nulled during Earth's new moon phase, so he's unable to fight during that time period. I just love his design, and he has a pretty kick-ass themed song to boot. The only problem with Roki is that he does overstay his welcome, because when you think he is done, he keeps coming back as if the writers had no idea what else to do with Ura's plotline. Nevertheless, he does provide us with some of the show's best fights and adds some new flavor to a show that was growing stale. Last but not least are the foot soldiers known as Orgets. They attack with big clubs, as you will often see Onis depicted as doing in Japanese artwork. There's not much to them, as they don't do anything we haven't already seen done before, and better.
その邪悪の中心がデュークと呼ばれる高い位のオルグが生まれる場所、マトリックスなのです。
The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us.
How can one intercept a thought pattern within the Matrix itself?
By going in there and joining it.
The Mecha! If you are not familiar with the Sentai shows of the 2000s, Gaoranger is the series that kicked off the gotta catch them all mentality of the mecha. While the Rangers may be our main cast, the power animals are pretty much the stars of the show. Are you ready for this? There's a lion, a bison, an eagle, a shark, a white tiger, a gorilla, a polar bear, a black bear, an elephant, a giraffe, a wolf, an alligator, a hammerhead shark, a rhino, an armadillo, a deer, a falcon, a black lion, a condor, a saw shark, a jaguar, and a buffalo. Okay. Whew. The sad part is, I don't think this series has the most auxiliary mechs or mecha in general compared to other shows that came after. Whew. The main five merge together to form Gao King, while most of the other mecha becomes some sort of attachment for the Rangers, like a sword and shield to different arms and legs. Oh, and Gao Deers can heal all of the power animals whenever the plot requires it. At one point in the show, before Gao Deers arrives, Gao Lion is injured, so Gao Gorilla merges with the eagle, bison, and two bears to form Gao Muscle. The alligator, wolf, and hammerhead shark combine, creating Gao Hunter.
Gao Hunter Justice! 今、正義の力でガオハンターはガオハンタージャスティスとして生まれ変わったのです。
Oh, sorry, I mean Gao Hunter Justice. Gao Hunter was his emo phase. After Gao Red acquires Gao Falcon, he is able to combine with the rhino, armadillo, deer, and giraffe to form Gao Icarus. There's also another form that occurs when Gao Lion grows really big that allows the upper half of Gao Icarus to combine with Gao Lion to form an ultimate attack. Yeah, that's pretty lame. Thankfully, it's only used for like 2 episodes. Finally, the aforementioned Black Lion, Jaguar, Saw Shark, Buffalo, and Condor make up the physical form of Gao God, the power animal's all-knowing, all-lackluster god who got his ass handed to him 1,000 years ago. Another very impressive god, if you ask me. The mech battles are bland, and the collect them all mentality crap can get distracting at times, as it seems like the show is more concerned about selling the next power animal than it is in actually developing its heroes and villains. It's quite disappointing given how much character development we were getting from the last decade of shows that were balancing out the Rangers, villains, and mecha to now a show that immediately grabs at its cash bag instead of maintaining that equilibrium. The show's narrative suffers immensely for it, harming my overall enjoyment of it. The effects and music! Ignoring the boring-ass ending theme Healing You by Syla, this show's soundtrack is hands down its saving grace. Code Geass's Kotaro Nakagawa provides the show with an epic-sounding, top-notch soundtrack that gives a lot of energy and life to a brainless show. Even my least favorite episodes are somewhat entertaining due to their music. Whether it's a really mellow yet devious-sounding piece like this,
こにはいないみたいだな。
The more upbeat, fast-paced tracks is heard here.
俺の不始末がこの時代に招いた邪気のために決して死んではならない者たちの命が
To this solid number. Gaoranger just sounds so damn good.
これからはわしがこの星のパワーを吸い取りオルグパワーで満たしオルグの星と化す
All of this is enhanced thanks to Yukio Yamagata's incredible catchy opening theme, Gaoranger Hoiro. Speaking of the opening theme, the clip show features the song being sung by the Ranger cast. Now, for the effects side, it's hit or miss here. This is the first show to really try and utilize CGI beyond just mech transformation scenes, and it doesn't come off so great. First off, the power animals are nearly all in CGI, outside of some headshots you see attack a monster every now and then. What's worse is how little variety there is in these CGI shots. We see Gao Lion use the same roar, pounce, and get knocked down footage over repeatedly during its entirety. I know they repetitiously used stock footage before, but those were when they were dealing with models and toys. I wouldn't expect them to redo Ryoseio's flying scene over in new footage every episode because that would take a lot of work. Here, there is no excuse when they are just using CGI models. They could have the animals do anything they want them to do.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down.
Moving past that, CGI is also used to make the monsters grow and a few other areas that stick out like a sore thumb. Green screen backgrounds can come off as pretty ugly too. Unfortunately, there's not much going on as far as the camera work is concerned either. Now, what is cool is that we seem to get several more nighttime battles in this show than we normally see, especially during Roki's arc. Adding to that is the occasional cool sunset battle, along with the last episode having an exquisite rain scene. It does show that this series had competent people working on it. I just feel like Toei sacrificed a lot of their budget on the CGI power animal sequences rather than what was best for the show, which is quite disappointing considering what they had achieved in prior series. The episodes! Moving past its bodacious soundtrack, the episodes leave a lot to be desired. Getting straight to the point, my favorite episode of the series is the one titled The Org Howls. This episode kicks off right after Ura introduced himself to the Rangers and Seisei and Yubaiba want to please their new master. He tells them he wants beautiful things, so they go hunting for items that he might enjoy. It is the one episode that feels like the writers just had so much fun making, and the actors playing Seisei and Yubaiba are having so much joy playing these characters here. They wear various costumes, they play around, they even ditch the Rangers from a battle at one point. Of course, Ura's true goal here was to keep the Rangers distracted with what his underlings were doing in order to awaken Roki from his slumber.
お前たち、ガオレンジャー。
お前は一体
我が名、デュークオルグ、ローキ。
As such, the last act of the episode ends up with a really kick-ass, dramatic battle of the Rangers getting their butts kicked by Roki in a gorgeous nighttime setting. It's a brilliantly filmed episode that eases you into a false sense of security by being silly, only to rip your expectations apart with its dramatic climax. It's a shame that no other episode was able to mimic this one, yet because they don't, it stands out among its other 50 brothers. really the problem with Gaoranger as a whole. Like what I said with the Rangers themselves, the series just doesn't do enough to make itself stand out from its predecessors. Putting so much focus on the power animals as opposed to its human characters was a huge misstep in a show that could have been just as revolutionary as the previous series. Though, I guess you could still say it was revolutionary since it did kickstart the auxiliary mecha gimmick that has been a part of the franchise ever since. One of the problems here is because it was the first, they just didn't know when to stop with it or how to balance it better. There would be some shows later on that were able to balance the collectathons with its core characters. However, Gaoranger failed in that aspect, which ultimately harms the show, as a lot of episodes just come off uninspiring to downright boring. The Spirit King's decisive battle is a prime example of this. The episode begins with Seisei and Yobaiba recruiting an org with the powers to tame animals. He uses that ability on the Rangers, which leads to some hilarious results. I really started to think that this was going to be just as good as the Org Howls was, with how wacky it started off, especially when he is taming the Rangers, only for Yobaiba and Seisei to force him to grow before the halfway point. From there, it's just a bore fest of him taking control of Gao King and 12 or so minutes of just watching the mecha fight. He doesn't even actually do anything interesting with his ability to control the power animals. It's just one stagnant sequence after another. What's even sadder is that the yearly clip show has Yobaiba forcing the Rangers to make Gao King dance, which gave us this hilarious segment from Silver. Here, nothing fun is done with the mecha at all. It's pretty pitiful. The DVD! Shout Factory has provided us with an okay DVD. It's not their best. The translations are perfectly fine, and those who hate Gatai being translated into something other than fusion will be happy to know that Hyakujuu Gatai is Beast Fusion here. Hyakujuu Gatai! Regrettably, episodes 11 and 12 feature mistimed subtitles in the middle of their shows. Thankfully, it isn't the whole episodes, and it is only in those 2 episodes, but still, why is this still happening? The video quality, on the other hand, is another story. It's okay, better than what Time Ranger had. There does seem to be some compression issues, however, it pales in comparison to Toei's own DVD from 2001. The shout discs look a tad more faded out, at least during daytime scenes compared to nighttime ones. Still, that's not the weirdest oddity. If you look at the lightning and explosion effects, they appear to be a tad different between the two. Just look at the effects on Shuten's fights. There's a flashing light in Toei's version, while Shout's version has more lightning. No idea why this happened, but it did. Oh, and funny enough, for some reason Shout has an image of Gao Knight as part of the screenshot on the inside of the case, despite Gao Knight being a movie exclusive character, which is not present here. The movies! Gaoranger was the first series since Ohranger to have a theatrical film released during its run, while also having a versus movie. The movie itself, titled The Fire Mountain Roars, features the Rangers getting transported to an alternate dimension where 3 orcs named after Greek gods, Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon, are causing wanton acts of destruction. They have to help the natives on the island battle the orcs for their freedom while retrieving a sacred jewel that summons a red version of Gao Gorilla named Gao Kong to help them. From here, Gao Kong combines with the power animals to form Gao Knight. The movie is drearily dull, as despite being a tad longer than your average episode, it doesn't have time to actually develop its plot or characters. The Rangers come to the island, are told the natives are going to begin an assault for their freedom, and we get a long drawn out sequences of battles for 15 minutes until the day is saved. Pathetic, really. Oh, and Gao God shows up for some reason. If you want to watch the movie in its proper positioning, it would be between episodes 40 and 41, but you don't really need to, as nothing about this movie is ever mentioned in the TV series. Gao Kong is never even heard from again, though I do like the head of Gao Knight. We also have scenes of the Rangers talking to the audience, killing all sense of suspense and immersion.
みんな一緒にガオアクセスださあ立ち上がって準備はいいかいみんな行くよ
There is one funny scene in the movie, though, of Tetomu out drinking one of the orgs.
Now that's comedy.
Thankfully, Gaoranger vs. Super Sentai is a much superior movie. Of course, depending on your point of view, it may be a terrible movie since it is essentially a clip show.
みんな一緒にガオアクセスださあ立ち上がって準備はいいかいみんな行くよ
The story is quite basic. The Rangers find themselves in a hairy situation, battling a lost Highness Duke named Rockabilly? Rocky Road? Rock and Roll? Yeah, that one. Raku Hasashi takes away blue, black, and yellow's courage, leaving them unable to fight, with white trying to restore their confidence. This leads to each one of them meeting a past ranger and having to learn what it means to be a hero in colored spandex. We get Red Falcon, who goes through the history of rangers using swords, to Yellow, Ginga Blue teaching Black what it means to be good-hearted,
その前に聞いてほしいことがあります。俺なんかの何倍も立派な戦士たちのことです。
Mega Pink, who explains to White that a female ranger must be a master of disguise,
なんでこんな格好で逃げ回らないといけないんですかやったことないの何を七変化を七変化女戦士のたしなみじゃない
leaving Go Yellow to train Blue on various ranger attacks, specifically our favorite Milk Tornado one. Finally, we have Big One to lead the charge with the previous Rangers.
ジャッカー電撃隊行動隊長バンバソウキよろしく
It's kind of a cool movie to get to see the history of Super Sentai at this point, since it was the 25th anniversary of the show. Now, what's interesting is when I first saw this film, I hadn't really seen anything of Sentai, so it was a cool taste of what each show had. This time around, I still found it cool just to see footage of all the various episodes I have watched in a montage. Regardless, if you don't care about that, then this movie is a washout since, as I already stated, it's a clip show in movie form. It's 70 minutes long, with maybe 40 minutes of actual movie. We even get a great Red Ranger roll call scene. In the end, Gaoranger's lack of character development, its piss poor, really mopey 6th Ranger, and the huge heavy focus on mecha really drags us down into being a 3 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex series. It's nowhere near a bad show by any means, just a lackluster one. Of course, it was also the first Sentai show I had ever seen, so rewatching it now and noticing all these flaws is kind of painful. But that's just the nature of the beast. Get it?
It's not funny! It's never been funny! It's never gonna be funny!
Fine. Until next time. Bye.
Dance, magic dance. Dance, magic dance.